Okay, thought I'd put together a quick tutorial just to show you how Autostakkert2 works. Nice, simple, straightforward program. So let's get it opened up. First thing first, what we want to be doing is obviously opening our frame, opening our AVI file up, sorry. So we'll click on open here. There we go. Back to my usual 16th of December. I don't know, let's go for nice small one. Let's go for number 5. There we go. Okay, a couple of things we need to make sure we change pretty much straight away with this. You can see up in the top left here, we've got two things we can check. It automatically, unfortunately for us solar people, defaults to planet, which we don't want to. We want it to go on surface, which as you can see there says for solar and lunar recordings. When we check that, it obviously takes up the full frame, so we can see the full frame there, what's going on. And also then underneath then presents us with a stack size option here. I think it's really important. It's entirely up to you how you do this, but that it is set to crop rather than expand. To explain what the difference between the two is, expand is going to use the full frame that's presented. Okay, and this may at first thought seem to be a good idea, but when you think what cropped actually does, cropped will only use frames or sorry, the area of the frame whereby all the alignment points occur within all of the frames in the stack. May sound complicated. If you don't do this and you have it in expand, what you'll find, and it says there from the little heading that pops up, it says edges will contain less detail. Fact of the matter is the edges are then going to be made up from less data than the center of the frame. What you're going to find is that it's got a much poorer signal to noise ratio, and then when you start applying let's say stretching of levels or sharpening or anything else in post-processing software, what you're going to find is that the edges become a lot more noisy. You'll see them breaking up, image artifacts. This could be banding, could be posterization. There's various things that can go on. So I always keep it on crop regardless. Okay, next thing. Seems to default to gradient. Okay, so I always tend to leave it on gradient. Next thing here is this noise. Is this noise robust? And what we can see here, we can click it down. I've actually got a really poor image I'm using today. You can see there's very little detail going on in that at all. This wasn't taken in the best conditions at all. Taken through a PST DMK31 camera on a standard camera tripod, undriven, middle of winter, very low altitude sun with also some haze. So you can see there's not really much going on there. So I'm going to, on this occasion, I think, stick it all the way at number 6. If you've got some really nice contrasty images, you've really dropped the gamma in your image when you're recording, then by all means drop it down. Okay, but I think for the image I've got today, I'm going to go for that one. Okay, what we've then got on the on the screen here, we've got this. It says image stabilization anchor, control and click to set. And all I tend to do is just look for something with a bit of detail on it. So click control. I'm going to end up somewhere around here. Got a bit of a sunspot going on there, a bit of a filament. We've got the edge of the disc. So there's plenty of things for the software to latch onto. Okay, so we've got that first bit set up. We just click analyze like that. Absolutely flies through it. Doesn't take like too many seconds at all. Let's let it do that. Flies through the other bit. Nice and quick. Obviously, the more frames, the longer it's going to take. There we go. Right, you can see here. If I let's just drag this over here, pull this way a bit, and enlarge this just a touch so we can see what's going on. You can see this red box that it's drawn around. This is it's this crop function that it's put in place. If we didn't have if it was on expand as opposed to crop, it would be all the way to the edge of the frame, which, like I say, you might think is a good thing, but all these bits in this periphery, this perimeter, what you'd find is they're going to be very, very noisy, okay, and you're not going to get even contrast, you're not going to get even detail across your disc. Okay, so next things next, what do we need to do now? Well, couple of things. First off, we need to decide what file format we save it in. Okay, I always save it into a TIFF file. You could save it to a PNG file as well. It's entirely up to you. You know, that's down to your preference. And then there's two functions we can set here. We can either set the number of frames we're going to stack, in which case on this occasion I've got this set to 100, or we can set it as a percentage. I think I've got, what have I got, 400 and something frames, I think there, something like that. So you can either set it to a percentage or number of frames to stack. Sometimes I find Autostakkert tends to work better in perhaps some of the poorer conditions, so you know, sometimes it's better to drop that down. So let's tell it to stack 50 frames on this occasion. Okay, so we're typing 50 there. We can also have it so it does sharpened images like that. That's a preview thing. I've not really bothered with that. Where it's going to save it to a folder, in its own folder in the root directory. Okay, you'll see that's what I did earlier. And also, there's this HQ refine. I've always had this set. Seems to work fine to me. Drizzle. Drizzle basically increases the size of your image, but it's going to take proportionally longer. You know, they're in recommending drizzle for undersampled images here. So maybe if you are doing a full disk image and you're using a longer focal length scope and a focal reducer, 0.5 times a reducer, then maybe drizzle could be a good thing for you. Okay, right. So we've got this right hand side set up down here. Now we need to turn our attention to this window, and a few things here. The number of alignment points, always have it on multiple, okay, and I always have it on 25. It's entirely up to you. You know, it's all going to be down to individual images, the type of images you're taking, the scale of the images, the size of the individual pixels on the camera, the focal length of the instrument you're using. All these things are going to affect it. I'm going to put it on 50 today just so it speed things up a bit. So just click 50 there. It's got a minimum brightness. I always tend to set this to 0. You know, again, if you find that, let's just put these in the grid now. There we go. You see, it's trying to stack the sky here, which you may think is a waste of time. What's the point in that? But sometimes you find if you don't stack it there, you sometimes get these blocky artifacts, particularly around the periphery. So I tend to leave that stacked. Set at 0. Okay, so we placed our alignment points in the grid. We can see them there, like that. There's two buttons here, details and draw APs. Details in the top left here. Okay, that's just telling us what's going on. Draw APs, that just shows where the alignment points are. Unlike Autostakkert2, I found this really doesn't seem to make any difference at all as to whether it's whether it's checked or not in terms of the speed, performance of the software. Seems to work absolutely fine as is. So I just tend to leave it checked, to be honest. Okay, so we've got that set now. It's telling me it's got 510 alignment points there. I'm going to click stack. Let's just pull this over here just a little bit. There we go. Click stack. It tends to fly through things, I think, Autostakkert. It's nice, fast piece of software. As with any software, the poorer quality your data, or the more data you've got in terms of number of frames that is in the original AVI, or the number of frames that you want to stack, the bigger that is, the more likely it is to slow down. On my machine here, I always find it has this little pause between that one and that one, reference image and image alignment, but then it tends to fly through. I quite like how it tells you how long it's doing there. We just fly through that. There we go, 85, 90, 100% on that one. So it doesn't take long at all. Here we go. Wait for this last one. And there we go. It's done. Right. Okay. So that's that one stacked. What I do now, if I just come back to my original parent folder where the data's kept, there's one I did with 100 alignment points earlier, and there's the one I've just done. It really is not good data, so don't. that's awful. That's not done very well at all. But it's the principle of how we do it rather than this end result that I'm trying to illustrate to you here. So you can see it saves it there. How do we do a batch in Autostakkert? Well, again, that's really easy. I'll show you how to do that. Let's click open. Let's find a couple of nice small ones here. 342, 412, 527, 65. Okay, well, if we do number 2 and how big is that one? Oh, we'll do number 1, number 2, and say number 5. Selecting that. I'm holding Control down. Okay, that selects those 3 just by clicking on them. So I'm going to click open. There we go. Opens them up. So let's just whiz through this again. Really easy, really quickly. It's wanting me to set this image stabilization anchor, so we'll put it over here. I think I quite like that bit of the frame. There we go. So we've got that over there. Let's have a look. So a few checks here. First of all, it's on surface, then it's on crop, noise robust. I've got it on 6. I'm going to click analyze, let it do its thinking. It's absolutely flying through because I've only got 322 frames there. Obviously, again, it's going to take longer. There we go. Then over to this side. How many frames do I want to stack? I want to do it really quickly for me, so I'm going to say 25. Save and folders. You can even give it a prefix if you wanted to. I'm going to call it test just for the sake of it, so we can see something. You don't have to do that at all. Alignment points 50. Okay. Multiple alignment points. Set that to 50. Place alignment points in grid. There we go. Same as before. And click stack. There you go. So it's going to fly through it now, nice and quickly. Doesn't take many seconds at all to work through this. And you can see here down in the bottom right, it's telling me that it's working on file 1 of 3 because I obviously selected the 3 files. Always has a little pause here, like I say. It's having a think. There we go. Telling me it's not responding. My laptop's really good at that. Telling me things aren't responding. There we go. Off it goes again. It's woken up. Flies through it. Doesn't account when it's doing these timings. Doesn't add up all the not responding time. There you go. Really flying through there. I mean, you're looking at what, 5, 10, 20, 30. You know, we're looking at, if we're really quick here, probably a minute to process this image. Which I think, there we go, we're on number 2 now, which I think is a real improvement based on, say, some of the earlier stacking software. When Registacks first came out, some of the earlier versions of Registacks, those are painfully slow, if memory serves. You know, it's absolutely flying through things here. You're looking at a couple of minutes maximum, something like that for an image. Okay. There we go. It's having its think between reference image and image alignment. We'll let it do its stuff. Off it goes again. There we go. Tells us up here how much it's using of the memory, how much memory is available, how much it's using, how many threads it's got running at the same time. All these things you can set up here in multi-threading and memory usage. it's all down to your individual machine. I'm always running on a laptop, which is never as good as desktops in terms of performance, things like that. If you've got a desktop, here we go, we're on image number 3 already. If you've got a desktop, it might be worth having a look at these, and how you can tweak it, how you can improve it. But I've found, as you can see, it's absolutely flying through these files now. Hopefully it should give us some decent results. Not convinced it is, because as I say, you've already seen some of the data. There's only a few hundred frames. They're taken in very poor conditions. Well, the worst conditions possible, through high cloud, low altitude sun in the winter, shooting over the rooftops. It's far from ideal. Again, with a PST, quite a wide bandwidth PST on this one. You can tell there's not a huge amount of detail it's showing there, and on a camera tripod which is untracked. All of these things conspire against a solar imager in terms of actually getting good data. Okay, here we go. We're flying through it. Last bit now. Not taking long at all to do. Last section. And there we go. Autostakkert has worked its way through those 3 files. If we have a look here now, I can already see one of them's absolutely rubbish. There we go. It's made an absolute pig's ear of these 2. But this one, 25 frames. Let's have a look. That's not too bad, I don't think. I'm fairly certain I could probably run that through Photoshop and get something half decent out of it. It doesn't look very much at the minute, but Photoshop can work its wonders. Okay. So, as usual, thanks for listening to this tutorial. Hope it's helpful to you. Thanks for listening.